Exactly, during photosynthetic periods. Right. Now, the same thing is going on, again, very idealized sort of thing, but let's go back in time to where this eddy was, the leading edge of this eddy past our eddy covariance instrumentation. Okay? Now we have a downdraft because this thing is tumbling. And if we had a decrease in the scalar relative to its mean, at the same time that we had a downdraft, a downdraft and a decrease in the scalar quantity, then that's a flux, and it's a flux towards the surface or away from the surface. It's away from the surface. Two negatives make a positive, is the way this goes. So both of these in red, which could be sensible heat flux or convective heat flux, both of those fluxes are away from the surface at the leading edge and trailing edge of the eddy. But in one case we have wind up and the scalar up, and in the other case we have wind down and the scalar down. Both of those represent positive fluxes, or fluxes in the same direction as the vertical wind. Does that make sense? Everyone okay with that? All right. So two wrongs make a right, or two negatives make a positive. And the same is true here on a flux that might be CO2 flux that's towards the surface. Then a increase in the scalar when we have a downdraft is a flux that's towards the surface. In other words, that's the turbulent process bringing CO2 to the plant canopy where it can be photosynthesized. Right? More CO2 during the downdraft. Now, this little nomenclature is important because we're talking about variations in the scalar relative to its mean value. Right? If we're not talking about this horizontal line being 0, we're saying that CO2, for example, had an increase in its instantaneous value relative to its mean. You know, there's no such thing as a negative CO2, at least, well, I mean, in Star Trek we have antimatter, but here, covariance calculations are all about the vertical wind covaried to the scalar, each relative to its own mean.